Hey, amazing people. It's your girl, Lady E. Listen, I want to take a moment and talk about something that I have been seeing on the internet. And I just want to, really talk to my nonprofits and churches. So there is this church that I've been seeing on the internet that is going through some difficult times, and I pray the Lord will be able to help. Well, I know He's able, but I pray that God will send destiny help us to help this ministry. But here's the reason why my last post and this post is geared towards what I've been talking about in my personal sectors with nonprofits and churches that are around my particular touch, people that I can touch and actually go to their church and sit and talk to the pastors and the leadership and things of that nature, because nonprofits need a reserve fund. There's absolutely no getting around it. If you are a nonprofit or a church, you absolutely must have a reserve fund. And here's why. When you have reserves, and I'm not talking about just one reserve fund, right? Because each fund serves its own particular need. So if you have a fund for capital improvements, you need to have that fund, and it is sitting in an account that is not going to be touched for 3 to 5 years. You need to have a capital improvement fund. You need to have an emergency fund. Did you know that churches need an emergency fund? Stuff happens. The AC breaks. You get a roof leak. You get somebody in your church go through a dire need and they're about to lose their home. You need to figure out what's happening with it. You need an emergency fund. An emergency fund is for clear emergencies. But this fund needs to be generated for at least 12 months or more. And you need to be putting in there now. I teach that my individuals need to have an emergency fund that is for 6 to 12 months of their monthly expenditures. It is necessary because it takes a little while these days to get a job. It takes a little while to bounce back from stuff. And so having at least 6 months to a year of reserves is needful and necessary in order for you to achieve your goals. So, a capital improvement fund, 3 to 5 years. An emergency fund with about 6 to 12 months of expenditures in there. And then a program expansion fund. Now, you need this fund for when you want to scale. When you're outgrowing, like this particular church, they've outgrown their space. And the city is on them, and then all type of stuff is happening. And so we even speak to the airways that peace will be still in God's kingdom churches. Amen. Because this is just crazy stuff that is going on. But this is why you need a program expansion fund. Not only a program expansion. Here are some differences. If you have a food pantry and you outgrow your freezer space, your refrigerator space, your walk-in pantry space, your shelving, then that is a food pantry program expansion fund. Here are the differences that I'm giving you guys, okay? So a food pantry program expansion fund. Now, that is separate from your outreach fund that is mainly to procure toys for the children, back to school things, a wellness seminar, stuff like that, to give the children things that they need to get back to school, to get the parents relief that they need to help their families out. So that is your outreach fund. But then if you have a building fund, and we're going to raise this money, we're going to balloon this money so that we can move somewhere else. That is another fund that should be in an investment account. It should be in an account that is not going to be touched from 1 to maybe 5 years. So you have to forward think. So when you're doing your budgets for the year, when you're talking to your board, you do have a board as a church, right? You understand that your board is not your staff members because you can't pay your board members. You're aware of that. We know that there's a distinction between our board members and our staff members. And so when you're talking to your board and you're saying, hey, we're going to do a future projection, and I am projecting based on the numbers of attendees, the people that are coming to the outreach, the people that are coming in for our conferences and our seminars and our workshops, that we are about to exceed the capacity for this place. And so what we want to do is we want to set aside this fund, and we're going to take, and I'm going to give you guys some nuggets here. We're going to take 10% of our tithes that come into the ministry. We're going to take 10% and we're going to funnel that 10% into our building expansion fund that's going to grow in an aggressive account that will help us in 1 to 3 years have almost all the money that we need to secure another building. We're going to take another 5% and we're going to separate that out into our capital improvements account, into our emergency fund, and into our program expansion account. We're going to separate. And if we are blessed and we have a partnership agreement with some amazing partners that are consistent and they are partnering with us every single month, we're going to take 5 to 10% of that, and we're going to put that on top of the investments that we're already doing for our capital improvements, our programs, food pantry, outreach, and then our other emergency funds. So we're going to have that set aside for that particular reason. And so when you have these accounts in these growth funds and you have them set aside in these mutual funds for the churches and these accounts that can grow money, you can put one, like I said, for the growth fund, for the building expansion, you want to put that in an aggressive investment vehicle. Then you want to put in a moderate vehicle for your capital improvements, and then one that's just a regular growth track for your emergencies, your outreach, and things of that nature that will grow over time. Again, you know you're going to eventually need this money, so you want to future think it out. So when you sit down with your CFO, you sit down with your administrator, you sit down with your treasurer, and you sit down with your board, you can say, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is what we have coming in. This is what I want to see. Can we pour this money into these accounts so that our end goal is achievable? And then once you know your goal, then you can target fundraise. See, a lot of times we grasp for straws when we fundraise and we say, oh, I want to do a yacht party. I want to do a fish fry. I want to do I don't know, some type of, I want to sell popcorn. I want to sell world's finest chocolates. I want to do all of these things. And we need-based fundraise. But we have no target. So if we would plan these things out and structure these things out when it's time for us to achieve a need, we are not grasping at straws with, oh my God, and now churches need to do GoFundMes because we did not plan for things to come up in our ministry. The ministry is going to always have things that happen. Always. We're going to always listen. You cannot expect that your ministry is going to stay at the same level that it's at. So you have to plan for growth. And you have to plan for your fundraising. And when you're getting this money and your people are donating and you got destiny helpers and you got kingdom ambassadors that are partnering with you and that are, just coming by and, about a seat of their pants and say, hey, pastor, hey, executive director, I got $5,000. I got $10,000. You don't just take that money and go put it in a bank that yields less than 1% interest. No. You go take that money and you put it in a high yield account that's going to yield 3%, 6%, 9%. You're going to put them in those type of accounts so that while they're giving and while you're steady filling up your thermometer until it gets to the bubble at the top to say we've made it, you have investments that is coming in and taking care of the needs. And this is outside of the regular needs for the church. That's what the other offerings are for.